Hello there, this is Ron Wills coming back at you with yet another video. A story of four men. Yeah, let Uncle Ron tell y'all a story. And you know what? I'm just going to tell you the story. I'm not even going to have commentary with it. Now, just to be clear, this isn't a true story. This ain't something that happened to Ron. Because remember one thing with me, when I started writing fiction. So, I know I got a lot of real life stories, but I can always make up some too. But my thing is, my stories are always going to be something where I'm kind of trying to teach something. Not so much entertainment, but edutainment. Anyway, a story of four men. There was this beautiful sister, older sister though, right? Named Christina. Now, Christina, she was a free spirit. She wasn't the type, she didn't want to get married, she didn't want to have children. But, if she had children, she would have been a perfect mother, right? But she didn't want to, not in this lifetime. She said she did that a lot in her past lives. So she just wanted to be, free, be able to travel, all of that, do her thing. And as I said, she was very beautiful. And despite being in her 40s, she didn't accumulate any major baggage or anything. So she still had the shape of a woman in her 20s. So very sensuous and very classy too. But also that type of sister, she was very down to earth. Very down to earth. She the type of woman, she gives some advice, people would listen. Because she had a PhD in common sense, right? So check it out. Right? As, her being her, she knew a lot of people, men and women. One day at her home, she said, you know what, I'm going to have me a dinner party. Right? But she invited specifically 4 guys. And now, just to be clear, she ain't date these guys. Like, each one of these guys would have did something with her if given the opportunity, but nah, it wasn't that type of party. These are 4 guys she knew. And despite knowing hundreds of men and women, she could have had a major party. In fact, she's had occasions where she has had those type of get-togethers. But in this case, she brought over 4 men, right? 4 men. And they all came to the house. First there was Ben. Now, Ben was a sharp-dressed brother. He had the latest tailored suits. Pulled up in, his, late model European car. One of those joints he didn't even have to drive it. It drive itself. It was so late model and so expensive. All right, and he was a professional. He He worked in finance, and he was a money man. 6 figures for him was a slow year. So that dude was talking 7 figures. Had the big house, everything, right? Then you had. That's Ben. And then he's the first to arrive. The next to arrive was Tim. Now Tim, he was more of a down-to-earth guy. Blue-collar cat. More of a homebody. Whereas Ben came to this joint wearing this tailored suit, Tim just came, just in a regular shirt and pants. Right? It was like more like a polo type of shirt too. And he had some nice shoes and stuff, and some nice slacks, but it was just some stuff he got from a regular store. Whereas Ben might have been the type, he looked like he could jet set all over the world and stuff. Tim was the type be chill, sitting at home or cutting the grass or fixing up stuff around the house, for fun. Maybe, go hang out with the fellas at a sports bar or something, go bowling. So, he was the second to arrive there, right? Third person to arrive was Larry. Now, Larry was cool. Larry was more that intellectual type of cat. Very studious. Very X's and O's. That type. If he got interested in a subject, he researched it fully. That type of really thought about stuff. To sit there, it could be something happened politically. He'll sit there and analyze it. Right? He just came dressed normal. Just shirt and pants and everything. And then the last to arrive was Mike. Now Mike, he came in, he kind of had, a nice silk shirt. He had that look, some linen pants. He was chilling, but he had that more relaxed look, and he was the most gregarious of, he came in like the other guys. They were like just talking and stuff, kind of quiet, and Mike came in, and all of a sudden it started popping. Dude coming in laughing, a little loud, but smooth with it though, right? So these guys, they looking at each other. They like, what the? Why this woman got us together? They couldn't figure it out. Ben was like, man, these guys are below my pay grade, right? What they know about anything? And Tim looking at Ben, and or the guys looking at him like, look at this bougie motherfucker, right? And then Larry, a little, he a little stiff. Looked like he'd rather, be in some library somewhere, reading about the mating patterns of butterflies or something. And then, they all looking at Mike like, man, who's this fool? And, Mike, he looking at them all, and, he's like, man, he's just chilling, really. He ain't even tripping off of them. Right? So, they started, she fixed a nice little meal for him and just started talking, and, and they loosened up a bit. And then at one point, Christina, she said, you wondering why I'm bringing all y'all together, right? And, of course, they were like, yeah, what's up? And she said to him, look, I want y'all to do something for me. But it's not really for me, it's for y'all, right? And they like, well, what is it? I want y'all to put on a party. I want y'all to get a big hotel ballroom and put on a party. Right? Or any spot, just put on a party. And they were like, a party? And she was like, yeah, I want y'all to look, why don't y'all put together something? Y'all 4 guys, y'all put together something. And, I want y'all to get some men and some women there, so they can meet each other, they can mingle and everything. And they were like, party? And, Ben's looking at these folks, he's like, party? Why would I want to do anything with these guys? They don't look like they make the money I do. And then, Tim looking at Ben and Larry, thinking, well, I don't know, they look like those uppity type of cats. I don't know if I want to hang out with them. And then I don't even want to get into Mike. And Mike looking at him like, shoot, party? Hell yeah. And, they were looking at each other. It's like, well, how are you going to work together? And then Christina, she said, hey, y'all figure it out. But why don't y'all do that for me? Because Christina had that type of personality. If she asks you to do something, she plant a thought in your head, you'll figure out a way to do it, even if you can't do it right then and there. Right? So, they met again. And then they were sitting back and they were like, stuff started to click. Their stuff started to click. So Ben, he was able to get financing for, to get the money together to actually pay for the room, pay for the ballroom, get the take care of all the stuff that had to be paid and everything, right? Because his thing was, man, that dude knew how to get stuff financed. He knew how to make money, right? And then it's interesting, Larry, he looked all studious, but the thing with him was he was a great planner. That dude could see step by step how to get anything done. His thing wasn't so much the money, but it was like, all right, well, we need to get this first, and then we need to get this thing in place. Then once we get this thing in place, we get this thing in place. And he was able to see every single step that had to be made, right? And then, they were like, well, okay, who we trying to get in here? We need to get some people in here. Somebody who know a lot. He's like, get some guys, because they thought about it, right? Because one of the things they decided is like, okay, if we're going to get men and women in here, is this just a party, or this is to get people into some relationships, right? And so that's what they looked at Tim, and the thing was, yeah, he didn't have that planning ability that maybe Larry had, or he couldn't get that financing. But he was a down-to-earth person who knew other down-to-earth men. The types that women would look at and say, hey, this will make a good husband. So, and plus, somebody like Tim, he type keeps some trouble from popping off. He had kind of like that warrior spirit in him, the type to keep everything in order. So he said, all right, Tim, he got some guys. They say, okay, y'all can work security and everything. But then he also put out the word, with some of the fellas he hang out with at the barber shop, the sports bar. Say, hey, yo, we're going to have this party here, right? So, he started bringing in the men, the down-to-earth guys who, they trying to build with some women. And, of course, everybody else, had their crew of friends they brought in there, because you had that, but then they realized, it's like, okay, we need other types of women in there too, or other types of guys. So, Ben, he hit up some of his friends and say, yeah, why don't y'all come check this out, be in the crowd. And, Larry more on that, like, intellectual thing, but, some women like that intellectual thing. He hit them up. But the main thing, Tim, he knew those folks, right? And, he represented the down-to-earth men, right? And then you had Mike. You thinking in all of this, it was like, well, you know what? Mike wasn't good with the finances. The money wasn't his thing. He was more the party guy. He wasn't a down-to-earth guy like Tim, because that dude, he wear a combination of some clothing, and he wasn't a planner. What he was the guy who was going to go out, get some of his boys who were similar to him, and then they want to make sure a bunch of women were up in there. So they did all this. Everybody did their little job, and the party was more than a success. And they were able to build off of that, build other events off of that. Everybody bringing in their specialty. And, I'm going to leave it there. They were able to be successful. A woman brought them together instead of dividing them by picking one over the other, but realizing each had their unique talents and bringing them together in a unity. And then the men, instead of feeling like, hey, my way is better, or I'm above you, were able to recognize each other's talents and go forward from there to make sure everybody got paid. I'm going to leave it at that, fam. I'm going to leave it at that. Sometimes, I can talk a lot, but I'm going to let y'all think about it. Anyway, y'all have a nice day today. Peace and blessings.